Welcome everybody to our next Ask Tom session in the Spatial series. We have very special guests today. Our partner ITIS. ITIS has been very active over the past few years especially in the analytics and data community, and they are also very avid APEX users, and beside APEX, of course, their focus is on location information, and this is why we have invited ITIS to present today the topic of developing custom maps with Oracle Spatial, APEX, REST, GeoJSON. So welcome to Gerald and Kristi, and before I hand over to you, let me just first a few information about housekeeping things. So just in case you don't know where you can later on see the recordings, just open the Ask Tom page, and there you find recordings or videos. The video part is over there, and then just click on the Spatial for DBA Analysts and Developer Office Hours, and there you can find all the recorded sessions we've done in the past and we will be doing in the future. And just for today, if you have any questions regarding what Kristi and Jared are going to talk about, please use the Q&A box for your questions. We have Denise, David, and Giant, at least, who have joined this session as well, and we all together will make sure that your questions will be answered. Okay, so much from my side. Let me just stop the sharing, and with that, I'm going to hand over to Kristi and Jared. The floor is yours, and welcome again.
Well, my name is Kristi Price, and I am the Director of Marketing, Senior Product Manager at ITIS Corporation. And with me today is Gerald, or Gerald Dildine, President and CEO of ITIS. So what is ITIS? We are a software engineering and consulting firm, and we have more than 20 years of experience serving the needs of the transportation and safety industry in the United States. Our flagship software is called the Safety Portal, and it's an enterprise safety management system that provides a large collection. We're up to nearly 30 data analysis, data management, and advanced decision support tools. And these tools really assist engineers and traffic safety professionals with a majority of the operational work inside of a transportation and public safety department. We'll go on to the next slide here. As I mentioned, our customers are typically departments of transportation. A lot of times they're in a division called highway safety, and within that highway safety department there are traffic engineers and other roadway safety professionals all working for state or local governments. So these engineers and managers, they oversee the planning and management of our public roadway safety program. So they're in charge of things like analyzing reported traffic collisions, maintaining public road networks, including the linear referencing systems. They work heavily with GIS. They maintain intersection inventories and physical assets for the entire Department of Transportation and Roadway Safety. And so the decisions that these engineers and managers make are really what roadway safety improvements are made to our public roads each year. So I mentioned our flagship software, and we call it the Safety Portal. So it's an enterprise safety management system that really provides probably the most comprehensive set of specialized tools available in the industry. As I mentioned, we're nearly at 30 apps now, and we've got roughly half of them are for data analysis, probably the other half, maybe a little more, are for data management. And then we have the decision support tools that help engineers make good safety improvement decisions, things about which projects they should pursue and what types of improvements they might need to consider. So bottom line, really our safety portal software makes an engineer's job a lot easier, and it enables the safety team to implement a sustainable safety management program. Here we have a quote from one of our longtime clients. We've been with the Wyoming Department of Transportation for probably close to 18 years now. And as you might imagine, with a relationship that long, they truly appreciate the safety portal and how we have grown it over the years. So how do we build this enterprise transportation safety management system? Well, we partner pretty heavily with Oracle. So we use Oracle products as our primary platform for building all of our spatially oriented business applications. We make use of several Oracle products. So you'll see up there on the screen a few of them. So Oracle Database and Spatial, APEX, Map Viewer, and Spatial Studio. And we also use other spatial products as clients demand, such as Mapbox or MapLibre and Esri ArcGIS, which we integrate with Oracle Database and APEX. So you might wonder, why do we choose to use Oracle Spatial and Graph? Well, our team of developers, I mentioned, we have about 20 years of experience as a company, but a lot of our key people have well over 30 years of experience. So we've been in the business for a long time, and so has Oracle. So Oracle Spatial has been really a long-standing resource for database-centric spatial data handling. And Oracle's products continue to evolve and improve and either match or exceed the ongoing technological advancements of other complementary product solutions. So one of the newer tools we've been using is called Spatial Studio, and it's an ever-evolving server software that's used for managing and deploying spatial applications without having to write a lot of code. For us, it seems it's a follow-on to Oracle's earlier Map Viewer software that requires our expert JavaScript developers to use. So we use with Spatial Studio, we use the SQL that's generated there as a starting point for filtering data, performing aggregations, transformations, and calculations. And the data sets and query results are then exposed as REST endpoints that we use in developing our spatial applications. So I want to mention that we have used Oracle Map Viewer for quite a long time, but we're currently taking a hybrid approach to development, and we like to use the low-code Spatial Studio whenever we can because it honestly is a huge time saver for us. So I mentioned Spatial Studio is a huge time saver, but our next couple of slides, we're going to talk about some more of the benefits of using Spatial Studio. A big one for us is the use of vector tiles and integration capabilities with Mapbox and MapLibre, and of course, integration with the other Oracle products. So the vector tile benefits, like I mentioned, these are a pretty big deal for us. So Spatial Studio creates and then caches vector tiles, and this wasn't possible before using Map Viewer. So we're very excited about this advancement because it leads to much better performance compared to the previous capabilities, only using raster backgrounds and raster layers. So we've had our software for quite a while, ever evolving, of course, but we've sort of compared earlier versions to what we're doing with Spatial Studio now. And we're able to display 5 to 10 times the number of features in the same amount of time as we previously did. So, for example, our raster-based displays were kind of slow, and occasionally the tiles would break. We have large maps with a lot of data. So overall the display quality would suffer a bit. But now with Spatial Studio, we can display more than 200,000 car crashes in just a few seconds. Before, to display that amount of crashes, we basically needed 30 seconds or more to display just 25,000 crashes and their associated attributes. So very big improvement there. Mapbox also provides advanced, robust JavaScript client front end for designing attractive map displays. That's really important to our customers. Everybody likes to look at a pretty map and see their data displayed visually in an attractive way. So while it's not the only tool that works with Oracle, Mapbox we've found is really well suited for our integrations, and even a simple version of Mapbox is included. We do pretty advanced mapping though, so we like to link to Mapbox and we use a token to connect to it. It's also fully integrated with Oracle Database and APEX. So after we've created our displays and linked them to Spatial Studio, then we can pull them into APEX to create map pages or custom map regions. And it also provides other capabilities that we use for spatial analysis, routing, and address matching. So next we're going to talk about a couple key technical approaches, database, Spatial Studio, and APEX. So we set a starting point, usually GPS coordinates, for our map displays, and then we add any of the necessary data layers. Examples might be automotive crash locations, intersections, road lines, things of that nature. Then we determine our symbology, map icons and symbols, and line sizes and points. In that example there, you can see a segment that we're studying that's highlighted in red. Right behind it is a, excuse me, a screenshot of crashes we have displayed, and all of the colors correspond to the severity of the crashes at their locations. Then we also, in that back screenshot, you can see, it's kind of small, but you can see the legend back there. So we also use the map legend where we can turn data layers on and off, basically filtering the results of what you see on the map. And we try to always apply meaningful name labels for each layer. And again, you can turn them on and off to do those filtering. We also use it to change map backgrounds. So we get the best background for displaying whatever type of feature someone's trying to study. So sometimes it's a vector-based map, or a lot of times there will be a satellite view raster graphic behind it. Just kind of depends even on the area of the state where you're looking. Okay, so we use vector tiles for rapid display of base maps, as I mentioned, and backgrounds, as well as the data layers of interest. What you're seeing on the screen there happens to be an intersection. And we use GeoJSON for editing the points and lines. So we're able to have drag and drop capabilities that are really simple to learn. People just latch onto it right away. It doesn't take a whole lot of training to be able to use it. And that drag and drop functionality works for both linear data and simple point data. So we use a Spatial Studio API to handle things like feature management, token management, and as I mentioned, vector tile displays and refresh strategies for those vector tiles. So our approach, how we handle adding features, is using tables in Oracle Database. It looks like possibly we have a question. I don't know if we're okay to answer in the middle or at the end. I'm not sure what the maybe we'll probably get back to it right at the end.
Yeah, so my
So
suggestion would be that we
mhm,
put questions into the Q&A box. So if
okay.
anybody, like Thomas who raised his hand, would kindly enter his question in the Q&A box, that would help us to keep track of the questions and answer things, Kristi, while you are presenting, so that you don't need to deal with this, unless it is a question which is of relevance, in which case maybe we can just interrupt you if you don't mind.
Yeah, please feel free to jump in whenever you need to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we were talking about our approach to adding features using tables, basically in Oracle database. So we take the table data, and Spatial Studio creates the vector tiles and caches them on the server for really great web performance. And features can be set up and visually validated really quickly within Spatial Studio. We don't have to publish it over to Apex and look at it on the front end of the software. We can look at it right there in Spatial Studio. That's also a big time saver for us, just that quick visual validation. So here's just an example of linear features. So this is a snapshot of some routes in Hawaii. And here are some examples of point features. So this happens to be clusters of crashes around schools. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we use tokens that can be retrieved via API or even produced right within Spatial Studio. And I think Jerry probably has some color to add to that statement.
Yeah, I can add a couple. Hi, this is Jerry. I can add a couple of things to this. So we primarily make use of read-only information from most of the map layers, and so security is for us is it's more of a read-only environment. At least it's less important on that side of things. It's only when we're doing editing that we are interacting in a read-write mode. So we switch which REST endpoint that we use for that, and then we tighten security on anything related to that. So we'll talk more about that as we move on, though.
All right, so we're going to talk about how we use the Spatial Studio API to handle things like feature management, token management, and vector tile displays and refresh strategies.
Yeah, before you go on, though, you're going to mention that QR code?
Oh, yes, thank you. So you'll see a QR code there, or there's a URL down here at the bottom. So coming up in the presentation, Jerry is going to show you some code snippets. They're just kind of hints for setting up some of the things that we do. And we understand they're a little hard to see on the screen. So if you go to that URL, that's where this QR code takes you. You'll be able to see those code snippets.
And yes, I'll just mention that we're going to give you little hints or little tidbits. There's not enough time to do end-to-end solutions here, but please feel free to follow up with any questions. If you go to that QR code, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions, right, Kristi, from that location also. So
Right.
what we're going to try and do is, within the limited time, is hit some of the highlights that we use. So this is very much an Apex driven applications. They'll all be talking in terms of Apex related code. So what you see here, for example, are we store some of the pertinent map-based information on the global page in the Apex application, and we then bring that information into into the JavaScript that's supporting the map itself. So you'll see there the configuration of the map, where the token information is, and then we have both a public-facing URL for read-only URLs, and then an OAuth URL for read-write type operations. Go ahead. And I was going to mention here too, so we have a function that transforms the request, whether they are a read-write or OAuth operation or a read-only operation. This effectively acts as a traffic cop for guiding which type of function to use with a particular type of URL. If you've set up anything like this before in using a map inside of Apex, then perhaps this might be familiar with you, but this is very helpful, because whenever we do an operation that requires an update, then we use the OAuth operation. So in any time that we have to refresh vectors, we'll use the OAuth operation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay. This is the basic form of the call to a vector tile in using a Spatial Studio resource, or for that matter, any vector tile that makes use of the standard Mapbox vector tile format. So in here you see the reference to, in this case, the Spatial Studio URL. We keep a library of our theme names in the database, and we then load them into Apex items, and we have a library that handles whether they're in dev, test, or prod, and then we'd simply load them and then call them. One of the important parts here that we find when you're working with vector tiles is to make sure that you have some operation on the end that clears the cache, and that's what that piece is on the end. Okay. One more thing we thought we would show here. So whenever we have a DML operation, whenever we're doing an update, we'll set up a flag, an item in Apex that basically is a flag whenever we've done an operation, and then we'll then trigger a function that does the refresh of that particular layer. So here's an example of a function that we use to refresh a particular layer. So whenever the flag is triggered and the Apex item flag is triggered, then the JavaScript it's made known, and then it calls this and then refreshes that particular layer. Like I said, anytime we do an update, insert, or delete. Okay.
So next, we thought we'd show you some example use cases. So we've got a couple examples of editing simple point features, linear features, complex linear features, and then some collections. And we'll show you a couple of the apps.
Kristi, before you move on to that, there was just a question on layer refreshing, which Martin put into the Q&A box. Jerry, maybe you can briefly go back to that. The question is, how long does it take to refresh a layer? I guess that'll depend on the data volume, I assume, but can you comment on that?
Yeah, sure, I can. It's actually, there is a little bit of latency, and you wouldn't want to just refresh all the time, because the refreshing affects also different zoom scales, slightly different. So we wouldn't recommend like you just keep refresh on all the time. That would be one strategy. You do want to take advantage of the cache, but it's surprisingly fast. So we're going to demonstrate it, for example, in one of our demos here, how long it takes. So when you're talking about a few features, it's almost instantaneously. but you could get some pieces that don't always show up. So our recommendation is to do it after a DML operation only, and then use the cache the rest of the time. Okay, Kristi.
So on the screen right now, we just have a kind of a quick screenshot of some of the different base map layers that we use. So they're pretty numerous, and it's definitely useful in different scenarios. I mentioned some maps provide better contrast, so sometimes a satellite view is most helpful in determining a point. We'll look at an example of a school here shortly. But next,
And then,
Jerry's going to talk about, some of these base map styles.
yeah, just real quick, it's very simple to change the background. So we have just a simple function with a case statement that allows so we'll have a lookup of an item with a select list in APEX that triggers a lookup table that you select the. So we've got a lookup table in APEX, and we select the list, and then it'll change the URL. And a simple function allows you to change the background. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So next, we're going to show you some simple point features that have to do with locations of schools. You might wonder what schools have to do with crashes and transportation safety. But really, they're an example simple point feature that's used in traffic safety analysis. So public safety offices are often concerned with large, the number and the severity of crashes that are occurring around elementary schools and middle schools, high schools, and analysis of this data. It really can help them determine things like the safest routes to schools, which if children are walking to school, which are the safest roads to be walking along. And so we're going to show you that right now. I just wanted to mention that locating the point feature typically starts from a street address or even a GPS coordinate. They're pretty simple to handle in Spatial Studio. Spatial Studio allows either regular Oracle SDO geometry or the latitude and longitude in the column.
Kristi, there is a question in the Q&A that is related to what you just talked about. So the question is, what is the format of data in repository? Are you using relational database?
Yes, I can. I'll respond to that one. So yes, all the information that you see here, any of the features that you see will be in the Oracle relational database. So they typically all have a geometry, an SDO geometry, or something from Oracle Spatial in the database column, and it's stored there. So it might start out as a latitude and longitude. We typically will put it into a geometry column. But go ahead and keep going.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna try and share my other screen real quick. Are you guys able to see my browser here?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So I'm gonna show you how really simple it is to edit point data. So we are in APEX. This is the front end of the software for the client. And so I'm going to zoom in here. So this basically was loaded, looks like it was probably based on an address, but we're going to zoom in here and say, okay, well, it looks like it's located probably in the school's driveway right now. So we just need to move it out to the street. So we can grab this point and drag and drop it right here. And you will notice that those lat long values right there updated. We hit apply changes and notice that location is saved. And that honestly is how simple it is to edit point data.
So real quick, I'll just jump in a couple of things here. We meant to start off with something, obviously very, very simple. They do update the schools once a year when they get updated information, just FYI. And we nightly, whenever there's crashes, we update the number of crashes that occur within a certain distance from a school, for example, half mile from every elementary school, middle school, high school. But just wanted to, to mention, so that little drag and drop, that's a little Mapbox function. You can go to Mapbox, or MapLibre is the open source version of Mapbox. They have examples for moving a point like that. So we drag that. We're going to show you a minute. Like there's an ORDS function that creates a GeoJSON point, and so we're using a GeoJSON point whenever we do anything dynamic. It'll be using GeoJSON through ORDS. Oh, and look at there, she did it for me, so that's perfect. So here's an example. In fact, that's the piece related to the school right there. So GeoJSON, the reason we're using GeoJSON is that's a very common format that many different JavaScript mapping or spatial libraries make use of for handling geospatial data. And Oracle does a great job with it, and ORDS does a great job of creating it. And so we're going to show just a few different examples. This particular one is handling point features, simple JSON object, and you can see the layout. This is exactly the way you would put it inside of ORDS in order to be able to call up that point feature that you're looking at. So it does as a simple example. Go ahead.
Gerald, Martin raised a question. I think you answered it not directly to that question, but you gave the right hints before. So the question is, are the vector tiles also updated? So I assume he refers
We're going to demonstrate that one. I'm going to keep going because we have a lot to show. Sure. And we're going to run short of time. Let's keep moving.
Okay.
In fact, the next one, we're going to show a linear feature.
Are you guys able to see the intersection index now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We are.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to open up one of our intersections here. You can see on the screen here, it's basically bringing back all of the information about this active intersection, but we're going to be talking about editing a linear feature. So I'm going to open up one of the intersection legs here. And Jerry will probably talk about this more, but we do our editing with the GeoJSON layer, and then there are the vector linear layers right below it. So basically this top layer right here, let me turn this off real quick. So this red line right here, this is the active leg that we're working on. Again, these are the other vector layers below it here. We just add a black line to make it easier to see. But editing a point is really simple. You saw with the point data, we can do it with linear data too. We can just grab a circle and drop it. It needs to be on the line. Remember, there's a vector layer. It's making a copy below. So you'll notice when I let go of that circle over here that these from and to route mileage measures updated. I can go ahead and hit apply changes. And you will see that that line has redrawn. There was a question earlier about the vector refresh rate, and you'll see if I kind of zoom in and out. Sometimes, let me turn off this active layer. So it did update immediately. Sometimes it's not instant, so we add a button and users can manually hit that refresh if they need to. But also, in addition to using these drag and drop, you can come over here into these form fields over here, and you can make an edit right here as well. And I basically kind of moved it roughly back to the same spot that it was before. And you'll notice that those are updated. Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, just make a couple of things. It was so just so we're clear, in this you're looking at an APEX application. We put in this case, a mapping window, or this is showing a map box. We have the Mapbox JavaScript library tied in. We have a custom page for this particular. We have a custom file for the map that we're seeing for this particular page. On there, on that map, you have a basically a raster background. That's the white roads and the buildings. Those are all backgrounds. They're the styles that we showed you how that we could change. Then you have some vector tiles on top of it. So the little gray lines that start with ML, but with a label with the ML, those are actually the road network from the state that the state uses, their internal road network. So those are vector tiles, and they're more of a static in nature. Then on top of that, we have more vector tile information, more vector data. And so with the intersections, the yellow intersections, circular with the black surrounding, those are vectors. The legs, they asked us to create legs that are 200ths of a mile long or 100 feet long, basically out from each intersection. We're just showing the intersection of interest, so they have the legs on that particular. It's for tracking things like the number of lanes, turn lanes, right turn lanes, et cetera, on each leg coming into an intersection. And so you see that those are also vector tiles. So most all of the main layers that we show are vector tiles. Only time we use a mix of GeoJSON and vector tiles, but the only time we're using GeoJSON in this case is for the editing purposes. So since the vector tiles are a better static feature, we use those for rapidly. You can display hundreds of thousands of records very, very fast with vector tiles. But for dynamic, you're going to use GeoJSON, but you're limited as to how many records you can show in a. So you use GeoJSON, or we use GeoJSON for editing. In this case, go back just one more second. I just want to make the note, and then I'll stop if you wouldn't mind. Or is it too late?
Nope.
Yeah, if it's not too early, I just want to mention that.
No, just
so on the map there, these when we say a linear feature, it's a special kind of feature that is constrained to the road. An example might be shoulder widths or pavement surface or number of lanes. They go a distance along a roadway, but they never deviate off the road. So they are a function of the road itself, and that's what a linear feature is. So they are typically handled by a measure value, a distance along a linear feature. So a road might have 2 lanes from milepost 0 to 1, and then it might switch to 4 lanes from 1 to 10, for example. And in the database, they commonly store this information by their linear reference. So we do some management of that with both the latitude and longitude of the endpoints as well as the measures, and we handle all that within here. That's probably wants too much detail, but the main part that you want to know here is anytime that we do an edit of a linear feature, we're using GeoJSON, whereas anytime we're displaying things for symbology, for analytics, we're using vector tiles, and they all work quite nicely. So with that, let's move on to the code for a second. So the next part was just to quickly show you the GeoJSON example of a linear feature. So here's a similar example. We showed you a point feature. If you want to use a linear feature, here's an example of a linear feature. In this case, you might notice the reference of the CLOB, and the CLOB is used when you're dealing with large geometry objects. Intersection legs are not large. I'm not sure why we're showing it here, but if you get into long geometry objects that might have lots of vertices that make them up, then you're going to want to make use of a CLOB. But it handled very nicely here within the JSON, and we provide examples of this in our tips, and Oracle's very good at providing examples of this as well. Okay.
Our next example here is just a screenshot we'll describe, not a demo, but this is an example of complex point features and advanced symbology. This is what we call our collision diagram. So we're able to display some graphs and useful information to the traffic engineers that you see on the left side of your screen. And the right side of your screen, my next slide is kind of zoomed in a little more here. This is how we're able to use advanced symbology. So these arrows pointing different directions and with little squiggles in them are very meaningful to the traffic engineers, and they basically indicate things like direction of travel and the point of impact for car crashes. So using Mapbox, we're able to deploy these high quality map symbols, and they're vector based. And Mapbox studios can be used to create and house any number of these really complex symbols. And we use the custom positioning on the screen to do things like communicate the direction of travel that I mentioned.
Let's go, and we're running short of time, so I won't expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep.
Next, this is just an example of a roundabout. So this is really complex features and feature collections. This next slide kind of shows you here. So we have at that sort of that top little screenshot there in the brighter yellow orange, that's an example of a component of a roundabout. And then next in the pink, that's an approach to a roundabout. And then of course the complete roundabout is all of the components and approaches combined into the single roundabout. And we're using ORDS and GeoJSON feature collections for this. Just another quick example. You see the legacy raster version compared to the new vector version. Big improvements there. And again, just another quick example. Those little dots are where the crashes occur around the roundabout.
So I'll just mention real quick. So with GeoJSON, we can also use what are called feature collections. These are composite features that allow you to take simple features and then combine them into a collection of features, hence the name feature collection. So these are this is an example of a feature collection, which in what we showed a couple of moments before with the roundabout, we have the simple lines that make up the base information of a roundabout, and then we can form those into collections that are either the approach or the entire roundabout itself. And we're able to do that through the use of a GeoJSON feature collection. So we can just say display the whole entire collection, or we can say display a component or leg, if you will, or an approach. And all of that is able to be done through GeoJSON and ORDS. Now, keep in mind, whenever we bring up GeoJSON, we're really only saying that we use it primarily when we're going to edit something on the feature. And the rest of the time we're using the vector tiles because they're much faster. But we're showing you what you could do if you wanted to edit any of the components. Okay.
So next, it looks like we have our faceted search up. So we're using various approaches to answer questions for engineers on the fly. And one of these examples is the new faceted search in APEX. And I think we're probably running short on time. I might just skip and go to some demos here really quick and come back to this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, hey, give me just 1 second.
Yeah, she's talking. So we have examples on our site on how to integrate a map with either a faceted search, an APEX faceted search, or an APEX smart filter. Both of these work very well, and they're extremely useful when combined with either one of those, a faceted search or smart filter, for doing analytics on spatial type data, in this case crashes. So just go ahead and go when you get the chance.
We've got quite a few different querying tools here, so I think I'll just start at the top. I know we mentioned faceted search, and we will get to that, but real quick, I would like to show you the safety gazetteer. And basically, the safety gazetteer is
We
going.
still see the faceted search slide.
Oh,
Yeah,
here.
we're still on the slide. Thank you,
Is that,
Karen.
did we go ahead and update there?
Yeah, now we're
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
the application.
Okay.
So we're looking
Go
at the
ahead and
gazetteer.
refresh here. Great.
So maybe
Okay.
show the page on the side for just a moment so they see which application you're on.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Didn't realize it wasn't sharing. So yeah, we've got the Safety Gazetteer, Rapid Mapper, Faceted Search, and Smart Filters.
Go ahead.
So real quick, right here, I've turned on our crashes layer. So this is sort of an update to a heat map with the new H3 displays here. You'll see these resizing. You can obviously tell where the roads are. Even though I only have the crashes turned on, I'm just gonna zoom in here further to Cheyenne. So right now we're displaying all of the crashes in Cheyenne, and we've got some kind of custom pre-built filters over here that you'll see on the side. These are, a lot of them are safety emphasis areas. These are things that engineers want to see really quickly. So they're able, as you saw, to just turn on a crashes layer, zoom in, and hit a button right here. And then this is the key up here, kind of giving them an idea of the severity of the crashes happening at these locations. Another example, perhaps they want to see pedestrian crashes, and they can just, pan around the map, zoom in and out, and see where all the pedestrian crashes are. One handy little tool. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that while she zoomed in on a local area here, these changes are actually all happening statewide. So there's actually, hundreds of thousands of crashes that are being changed. It's just we want you to be able to see the ones that we're looking at. So the point is that you can change these things on the fly very, very quickly.
Yeah, and each one of these crashes has somewhere upwards of 100 attributes attached to each crash. So it's loading incredibly fast. There's also a handy tool. I'm hitting the shift key and I can select crashes. So I just selected 10 right here, and let me scroll down a little. You probably didn't see that updated, but down here in the bottom portion of the screen, we pulled up those 10 crashes, and we can see additional information about each one of those crashes that were selected on the map interface. So we also can turn on things like intersections. Say we're interested in seeing where the intersections are with fatal crashes. Just one click of a button and we can see the intersections all with fatal crashes associated to them. I think I'm going to move on, Jerry, unless you wanted to add anything else.
No, that's fine. That's all fine.
Okay. So next up, we have our Rapid Mapper. And this one has some kind of simple queries that you can build on your own. You saw just now a bunch of charts and graphs popped in here. I'm going to set up a simple query, and I'm going to say I want to look at all of the counties except for Park County, which is Yellowstone. And I want to see all of our crashes here. And you'll notice we've got just shy of, I don't know, 180,000 crashes, I think, that just popped up. And you saw how all of these charts. So you can keep building queries, keep adding on to your query here, and continually see this update, and all of these charts will update as well. So again, providing a lot of information to an engineer with just a couple clicks. Next, I'm going to come over here to the faceted search, which is kind of a newer tool. I'm going to clear these out. Looks like it had my last query in there. So you'll see this update right now. And we're showing all of the routes and 128,000 crashes. And again, these are safety emphasis areas, things engineers are interested in all the time. So they want to see how many alcohol-related crashes there are. And you saw it filter down to 6,800 there, and maybe we want to know also about hit and run crashes. And again, we've filtered it down quite a bit. And of course, we can zoom in more, see additional information, and turn some layers on and off. But I'm going to move on over here to our smart filters. And let me shrink that up. So right now we're looking at all of the crashes, but I'm going to say I want to look at crashes in Laramie County, which is where Cheyenne is. That's the most populous city in Wyoming. And there we go. We've filtered down, oops, excuse me, I've got my zoom controls blocking me. And we've filtered down to just the crashes in Cheyenne. We can come back up here and say we want to look at a route. Is it 25I?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a route that runs north-south through almost the whole entire state. But by using these smart filters here, we have narrowed it down to just the crashes occurring on the route that falls within Laramie County. Jerry, would you like me to flip back to the code hints?
Yeah, yes. Let's do that. And
okay.
So with this map use, this was more of an analytics kind of view. We wanted to show you that you could do things with for dashboarding kinds of views or other kinds of analytic tools, which the both the faceted search and the smart filters are fairly new in Apex within the last couple of years. They're very common, but I don't believe that you had seen that kind of flexibility before in tying the map kind of to it, and hopefully that's something new for you. And we have tips for how to do that. Say if you wanted to use, if you're familiar with Apex programming and you wanted to use either a faceted search or a smart filters approach, we've provided a clip here. It's really, to get the kind of performance, you have to be able to capture the primary key from the query that's being used, and on the map side, you need to be able to implement a filter on that, so it filters on that primary key. And we have more examples on the website. Pardon me, I've got hiccups. As we do that, and we have a snip for doing that with either this tip works with either the faceted search or the smart search. And go ahead and go on, Kristi. And I think so we were going to show a clip for this, though. I think just keep going down.
Yeah, these are
different pictures.
Network. Yeah.
Yeah. And keep going.
Here we go.
There we go. So the faceted search actually was showing a pretty large set of complex symbology types, which we changed on the fly. They were each distinct queries, and we changed the symbology on the fly. And it's probably the most complex part of doing the symbology. And we kind of show the strength of and the power of using Mapbox / Map Libre with the vector tiles provided by Spatial Studio. You can do great visualizations on the fly, very fast, and they provide a nice tool set for doing that. Here we have a set of arrays with some specific expressions that take advantage of those tools to quickly change the symbology based on the case. So happens to be the snippet or the case for the crash severity, and it's changing the color based on the severity type, and there it shows you the color and how it changes the property. This is again another snippet that we put in the example of snippets. And these are just some examples of external helpful tools that we use along the way. The reason we showed the crash diagrams was most of these displays you're seeing simple circles or lines, and we wanted to point out that you can actually make quite a bit more complex diagrams, which we end up having to do quite often. But you can use that kind of using extensions to some of the tools that are provided. Mapbox provides some really good tools for that as well. And I think that's the end of most of our stuff. I'll let Kristi, if you have a closing slide, I think.
I did, and the closing slide basically is a thank you, and then again the QR code that leads that leads to this page. Are you guys able to see the code snippets, or am I not sharing the right?
Right now you're still in the PowerPoint.
Okay, so scroll to the top. So this is the page that has code snippets. If you have questions, please do fill out this form here on the side, or just shoot us an email. And I'm just kind of scrolling down to show you some of these snippets here. So, but I do think we have questions.
Yeah, so let's try and handle any of within the time. Let's do.
Yeah, okay. First of all, thank you very much. It was very informative for me, and possibly, and I'm pretty sure for everybody else as well. Seeing all the questions related to the content you presented. I liked especially that you combined the demo part with the code snippets, and they are available for everybody to look at it in more details. So let's get back to the question. There are a couple of questions. Maybe I'm starting at the beginning. So Mitika is asking whether can we manually draw a line, extend a linear feature? I would say from what I've seen, the answer is yes. But maybe you can add a little bit more to it.
So if you want to digitize new features, we're not showing a demonstration this time, but that takes a little bit different library than what we're showing. But we hope to do that in the future. We're not currently doing that, but we certainly plan on showing that kind of. Yes, it's definitely available, but we're not showing that today.
Okay. So next question, which APEX version are you using? Is it the latest one, 24.1 or 2, I think?
Well, we haven't. We're in the process of moving to the very latest APEX we typically try and keep up with. So this might be one before the very latest. But it's pretty hard to keep up with
the
changing
latest
APEX.
Version, I think came out couple of weeks ago only, so yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to keep. We're in the process. My systems manager is doing that as we speak, but we have not ported all this. But yeah, we keep current with all of that. In fact, there's so many new things that come out related to spatial. We are hungry for all of them, and we try and keep up with them as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. So Martin asked the question, are the filters built on the vector tiles? This question popped up, Kristi, when you demonstrated the application.
Let's see, where's that one?
So are the filters built on the vector tiles is the question.
So we definitely apply filters. It's the combination of vector tiles along with the capabilities within Mapbox/MapLibre filtering and expressions make a very, very powerful combination which gives us the speed. So we use a large array of filters for accomplishing different things. And the vector tiles display very fast, but the filtering works also extremely fast in parallel with it. So anything in cache can be filtered very, very quickly.
So Martin, does that answer your question? maybe giving Martin some time. So there is another question by Timothy. So that map which was shown on screen is a native APEX map region or a custom map from Spatial Studio? I think it's
Today
kind of
everything was a
applies.
custom.
Yeah.
Today the demo we plan on doing much more with the APEX map regions in the upcoming versions. We definitely are following it closely. We've had special needs, so most everything we're showing today was based on our special needs, but that we see that the work that they're doing there is perfect, and we are going to consume them in our next releases for sure.
Okay. So 2 more questions to go. What is the relationship between your APEX and Spatial Studio development? Are both on-prem OCI, or where
So
are the things
this,
deployed?
yeah, this stuff related to we have both OCI implementations as well as on-prem. The stuff we showed you today is our applications have been in place for a number of years and have been migrating. So we've been migrating, so we can demonstrate both of these in either environment right now. So we do on-prem and we do OCI.
Thank you. And the last thing is Timothy asked, on faceted search page, each time you changed the filters, it did a full page refresh. So is this running a REST call and serving back the data behind the scenes? Can you show the source query for the map of the faceted search? Is it something you can go back to and show?
The faceted search, the source query. So the faceted search is really a complex thing. There's a couple of really good examples. You're going to need to use our code snippet along with some of the examples provided on the web by Karsten. What's Karsten's last name? Yes. He gives an example for updating a chart in APEX. And I think a map is on that as well on the web. I would look up that example, but then our code snippet is an update from that. And I mentioned when we were talking about it about making sure that you query the key field, because in our map then we have a filter that's based on the key field, and then our query in APEX captures the key field from the faceted search and puts it into a CLOB, and we use that in order to update this. So you saw we could handle well over 100,000 points using that approach with the faceted search. So if you have any questions, then please email us on that. But that's new and it's fairly complicated.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for answering those questions. So I'm going to take away sharing my screen from you. So thanks a lot, everybody, for your questions. And we would like to see you again, asking your questions about another topic. So next session, we have planned to talk about using raster algebra in the Oracle database. The date is August 27th. If you have any suggestions or anything you want to specifically learn, listen about, just drop us a note, let us know what you're interested in. We are happy to pick it up and turn it into a session, or at least into some topics during one of our next sessions. So just feel free to let us know about. And for those who want to learn more about Oracle Spatial Technologies, here are a few links you can check out and see whether there are anything you want to learn more. And again, if there are things, questions that pop up or questions you have, just let us know. We are happy to get back to you and talk about it. Okay, and that's it for today. Oh, not see you in June. Sorry for that typo. Yeah, of course, see you in August. June would be nice, so the summer is still ahead, but yeah, June has passed already. Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Denise.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kristi.
Thank you, everyone.
Gerald, it's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.